Good evening, and welcome to hashtag Jeopardy Live panel presented by the JeopardyFan.com. Once again, I am Andy Saunders, and I will be moderating tonight's discussion. So if you've got anything you'd like to say to the panel, you can always use the hashtag Jeopardy Live panel on Twitter, and I will be, as always, I check on my phone as the show goes through, and if I see something I like, I read it out. So, I'm going to introduce tonight's panel very quickly first. I then have some housekeeping off the top. First up, I've got, returning to our panel, a couple of people who've been to the Tournament Champions once, or one. We've got the 2003 college champion, TOC class of 2004. Now he runs the Final Wager. Keith Williams, welcome back. Keith, thanks for joining us. How was your holiday? And you're slowly growing your beard back, I see?
I shaved a couple days ago. I know Jason's going to have some words about that. My holiday's been great. I've been in Vermont with my parents and my brother and 4 dogs. And maybe if they all calm down, they can make an appearance on the Final Wager over the next couple nights. And maybe the dogs can come too. No, I'm kidding. Sorry, Mama. No, it's been great. The only downside is there's been no snow, so it hasn't exactly been a Vermont Christmas, if you know what I mean.
Well, you know, it hasn't really been a Canadian Christmas either, for that matter. We don't have any snow up here either. Also returning to our panel, also after having found his bottle opener, welcome back, Jason Keller.
Hey, yeah. So if you know, for those of you who are tuning in last week, so here's my bottle of Lindeman's Pesh, which requires both a bottle opener and a corkscrew in order to have this lovely glass. So, you know, Na zdrowie, Soncha, La Brut, and Stay Nine.
Oh dear. And of course.
Wait, so you had a corkscrew but you didn't have...
I was missing my bottle openers last week, so I did not get it open, so I just left the bottle in my fridge, waited patiently all week, and yeah. That's the only reason that I'm here.
Wait, Jason, didn't you go to college? You don't like hang it outside of the counter?
Did you not, Keith, did you not see any of my episodes and how nerdy I was and that I wasn't really drinking much during college? Did it not register that I might not have drank all that much during college?
Jason, you're talking to a guy who records himself doing math 5 times a week. I think I know things are dirty. I have you there.
Yeah. So, we all, both Keith and Jason, they are joined by 2 people who were on this past week's worth of episodes from the earlier part of the week. Liz Quesnelle from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, won on Monday, a historic episode, but we'll get to that in a little bit. Thanks for joining us, Liz.
Hi, welcome. Thank you for having me.
And finally, from the end of the week, we've got, he's now living in Massachusetts, Markus Kolic. And fun fact, Markus and I grew up about 20 minutes from each other in Ontario. And our high schools actually played reach for the top against each other. Mm-hmm. Our schools were that close. But of course, you got on Jeopardy first, so I'd say you have the last laugh, despite any sort of results that our high schools may have had back in the day.
You almost certainly beat us. Center Wellington High School routinely lost. We were not very with it at the time.
But, you know, to be honest, I actually, I noticed. I think your coach is on Facebook. I was always a fan of your coach back in the day. So
Mr. Camp, I believe.
Yes.
Larry Camp. Yes, great guy. He slapped me in the back of the head once because I corrected his spelling in the middle of class. So
who was right?
I remember him fondly.
Who is correct? You or him?
I was right. He misspelled the name of our member of parliament. I couldn't let that slide. I was a little 15-year-old prick. I wasn't going to let that go.
I thought you were going to say he spelled color with a U or something, because that's definitely wrong.
We won't go there. We'll spend all night arguing about that one.
Okay, so a little bit of housekeeping off the top before I get into the questions. Obviously, was revealed on last week's live panel, Alex Trebek recently had knee surgery. Obviously, Claudia was unable to make it to taping for the December 21st episode, which of course led to a news article, and apparently for the entire week it was the only news article on the internet about it. Meaning that I had a lot of page views and a lot of comments as well from various people around the internet who decided they wanted to leave messages for Alex Trebek. I was unsure of what to do about it. I asked a couple people. It was suggested that I read them out at the start of live panel. So here we go. I will try to do this as quickly as I can so we can get on with discussion. This one from Kara Lee DeBoll, Miami, Florida. This 93-year-old has enjoyed for years your well-presented and informative show. May your hip surgery, or knee surgery go well, and you have a speedy recovery because I want to continue to tune you in for some years to come. Thanks for a job well done. This one, Kay Rubio. Alex, you're on the mend. We wish you well and we need you. Mike Botcher. Had the same surgery a year ago. Heal fast. Jay Frick. Hope you get well soon, Alex. We watch you nightly and don't want to miss a single show. You're the highlight of our nightly TV watching. Don't like it when you're not there. Keep that smile and sense of humor. Your fans are wishing you the absolute best. Take care, Alex. Margot, I have had both knees replaced. Keep up with your physio and you will soon be wondering why you waited so long. Hope for a speedy recovery. Tim Quinn, and here's a funny one. Alex should have blamed the knee on an old hockey injury when he played for the Sudbury Nichols midget hockey team in 1954. That was my favorite. I was actually doing some research myself. Apparently, Alex originally injured his knee in the late 80s in a charity softball game, attempting to steal home.
Wow.
I'm gonna have fun picturing that.
That's pretty ballsy.
Yeah.
Yeah, a charity softball game. So if anyone's on the show that's coming up in the near future and wants to bring that up, I wish you the best of luck. This one from Wanda Steidel. I had knee replacement surgery in March, 20 days in a rehab facility. Painful, but well worth it. Good as new today. Swim 45 minutes daily, which helps. Good luck to Alex. I watch him every night. This one's from Larry Fulmer. Hi, Alex. Well, December must be nice surgery month because I had mine. That is my left knee this past December 1st. And 1 year prior, December 1st, 2014, I had my right knee replaced. My recovery and rehab is actually going better this time around, perhaps because unlike last year, I'm working with a good knee. I hope your recovery is going very well. As for me, I hope it'll bring about a better quality of life. That is what I've been having. I'm not going to go into the details of that, but suffice to say, one way that this can turn around and become a better year would for me to be a contestant on your show. I could share a little bit about my experiences with you. But while I'm sure I may not go above and beyond where Ken Jennings left off, as long as I don't choke, I would enjoy being on your show and hopefully winning some money. Perhaps that will also help save my house from foreclosure that I am living in along with my mom. Besides your show, I thought you had a fantastic interview with Howard Stern earlier this year. Wishing you an awesome recovery and a very happy and healthy holiday season and new year. Now, Larry, I hope you realize you cannot get on the show based on what you have said on my website. But I wish you the best of luck in going to the official Jeopardy website and registering for the online test, which is coming up next month. Next up is Mary Alice Phillips. Hi, Alex. I had left knee surgery in March of 2015, and in November 2015, I had right knee surgery, so I do feel your pain. Please do your therapy. That is the key to a speedy recovery. I am doing very well, and I wish the same for you. I have been watching Jeopardy ever since you started, and I love it. Judy Womack. I see Alex is walking. Great. He is healing. And finally, Joyce Elizabeth Blackerby. Hello, Alex. As you must know, I rarely miss Jeopardy, and as far as I am concerned, your show is #1. Sometimes I'm able to answer a few of the questions correctly. There are so many attributes to watching this game show. However, if I learn enough, perhaps I can become a contestant. We'll look into doing the online testing as you are choosing people as we speak. I rarely watch Wheel of Fortune. Sorry to hear of your recent surgery and wish you a speedy recovery. Hope it was not a replacement. As a game show host, you are the best. So happy to hear your mother is so young. Ha ha. Hope she is doing well. We need more educated people such as yourself. Happy holidays and best wishes for the new year, 2016. And that concludes the comments section from the Jeopardy fan.
I love the assumption that Alex Trebek is personally picking the contestants. Like he's going through the files, looks at somebody and goes, "Oh, sorry," puts it down, picks up the next one. You all day.
Oh, well. So, Keith will be back in a second. Apparently he's having some internet issues, but I'm sure he will be back very shortly. My first question actually is for both, of course, Markus and Liz. I asked Shoshana a little bit of this last night. I kind of want your take on it as well. Obviously, there was no champion when you showed up for your tape date. What was your reaction to that? And do you think there was more camaraderie on your group, or in your group, because of that?
I mean, when I heard there was no returning champion, I really didn't think much about it, except until my name was drawn to be in that first game. Because other than that, it wouldn't have really affected me, I didn't feel. And so, because of that, I don't personally feel like our camaraderie was any different because there was no returning champion. But that's just me. I don't know how you felt, Markus.
Yeah, no, I similar. I think the biggest thing was it took away the pressure that I was afraid who would come in and there would be a Matt Jackson or an Alex Jacob figure there who was just going to steamroll all of us.
Right.
And when we got there and we're all on an equal footing, that it modulated my nervousness down from like a 9.8 to like a 9.6. So that was good, I guess. But I'm sure every group has an esprit de corps, and we've all been, those of us at least who are communicating since on Facebook have been very close. So right. I can't compare that to another group, but it certainly didn't hurt.
How difficult was it kind of keeping the secret that, there's no returning champion?
Well, in my case, we sort of, Shoshana and Jay O'Brien, the other contestant, and I inadvertently sort of let that news out of the bag. First of all, we didn't really think about keeping that aspect quiet, but when we were all hanging out at the hotel bar after the day's tapings, and we're all putting things on Facebook, and then people were like, wait a minute, my friend was on Jeopardy today, too. And then the third person would be like, hold up, my friend, who's not those two people, was on Jeopardy today. So we kind of caused a little bit of a kerfuffle there. Inadvertently, of course.
Yeah. I guess that's what happens when there's enough people with friends already in the community who manage to compare notes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, I guess, yeah, so obviously you guys were all on an equal footing, as you've already mentioned. Did that make, how was rehearsal then? Like, was there any, like the buzzer rehearsal, was there any specific person you realized early on to watch out for anyway, or did you all think you guys were all about equal?
I don't think anybody really stood out. There was nobody in rehearsal, and it goes by so quickly. But I didn't go, oh my God, I don't want to play that person. That happened, Liz, after your game. I was like, oh my God, I don't want to play her. But rehearsal was just a blur. I had a nice moment where I hit like 3 or 4 in a row, which and they were like, okay, go sit down. I was like, I figured it out. But, no one stood head and shoulders above, I think.
I completely agree with Markus. I mean, I think that everybody, at some point in rehearsal would hit 3, 4, boom, 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 and then be told to sit down. So we just kept seeing it like repeatedly. So nobody in particular made me go, ugh.
Yeah. Yeah, you usually don't get such a good feel off of rehearsal. Maybe you can tell that maybe from some of the clues that someone might know a little bit more than someone else, but yeah, it usually doesn't work that way.
Yeah, they're bogus easy clues. It's like, this is the next planet in the solar system after Earth. Like, okay. And the production assistant who puts on the lights is barely paying attention. there's no analog to the actual show.
I mean, sometimes I guess you can tell. I don't know if you all felt this way. If you could tell from some of maybe the body language. I mean, I remember in my second tape day, I remember that there were. Well, I remember there was one person in that taping group who was just like, I can't get this. And then there was another person, and then, but other than that, it didn't seem like anyone was necessarily any better or worse than anyone else in that way.
Keith, you've managed to get back. Welcome back, by the way. Sorry about your internet.
Thank you. Apparently my parents' Wi-Fi can't handle video connections, so I just learned that. After I made them buy new Wi-Fi, and it didn't change anything, but now I'm plugged into Ethernet in my brother's room. You know, I'm 30, and it was only a year or two ago that I had my first experience feeling like my parents when it came to technology. I was just like, I don't know, and I don't want to know, and I don't care, and just let me stick with pencil and paper, because I think that's not going to crash on me. So the more this social media stuff comes out, like I don't use Snapchat, and I barely use Instagram anymore, and Twitter seems fewer and far between. So even though I minored in computer science, I'm kind of hating it more and more every day, it seems like.
Yeah, the same thing happened to me. I'm 27 and I work in IT. I should know this stuff. And it hit me, I don't know, a year or two ago. We're watching the Mindy Project, and they're talking about Tinder, like that's a thing. And I realized I don't have a clue. I didn't have a clue what Tinder was. I was like, oh my god, I'm now the old person who's learning about apps from sitcoms. When did this happen?
Yeah, I'm 41, and I definitely am having problems these days. I'm turning into a Luddite, which is not awesome when you need to run your own website, but it's cool. I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Just
You have
as
a
long
pretty
as-
vibrant Facebook presence. You know, you're clearly doing something right.
Oh, I just know a lot of people who like to talk a lot. So,
That is
you know.
what you do. That's literally what it is.
So Liz, I'm just looking through the archive, the J archive again from your games. But you played a couple, 2 or 3. I'd say you played 3 daily doubles by the looks of it over your 2 games.
Yeah.
Was there anyone that kind of stuck out to you that you were like, I'm really impressed I got that, or?
I mean, obviously the Silicon one, because I am not at all. Science is like my big black hole. I have a degree in theater. I know several languages. I cannot figure out science, and that includes even just memorizing the periodic chart. Like, I can't do it. And so when that question came up, and I have no idea why I picked that category. I had no idea, but I did anyways. My husband was like, "What the hell are you thinking?" I don't know. Don't know. And I sort of had to, I got stuck for a minute, and then I just had to sort of reason through the clue and be like, oh, wait a minute, where do they make computer parts? Well, they make them in Silicon Valley. It's got to be silicon. But if I kept focusing on, like, what the Earth's crust is made of, I would have been toast. No question.
Mm-hmm. Well, I guess in that respect, they probably put that in there
For that reason.
For that reason,
Yeah.
to make it easier to figure it out. And
Yeah.
a lot of contestants don't notice that and get hung up on the other part of the clue. And so I would say that was you answered that the way they intended it to be. They intended it to be answered.
Ah,
I guess that's the best way of putting it. So I guess my next question for everyone, what's it like airing at Christmas?
Well, it was, for me, at least, as soon as we found out that our air dates were going to be bumped up, I immediately started, like, looking at more Christmas trivia items, because I figured if this is going to air the week of Christmas, there's going to be a great likelihood of there being a category on Christmas carols or the history of Christmas or something of that nature. So I immediately switched my focus on what I was brushing up on.
Yeah, I did the same. I've been doing all this stuff on, because we were going to be airing around Martin Luther King Day, so I was doing all this stuff on the civil rights movement
Yeah.
and African American literature, and then as soon as we got the email, I was like, okay, chuck it, start over with that. But in terms of actually the episodes being around Christmas, I mean, and for me being on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, you get a muted audience, and in the case of Christmas Day, it was preempted in a huge number of markets.
Right.
Poor Dee couldn't even. She had to have her friends lobby the network in Hartford, near her hometown, to re-air it. They weren't even going to air the episode. They had to convince the station to put it on at 1 p.m. the next day. It's you've got a hometown contestant. That should be. So that was sad. But all of her friends and all of Emily's friends got together in North Carolina and what have you. They all got seen. But it definitely it mutes the potential share of audience. I think it muted the internet conversation somewhat.
Well, I will say, I'll get to this later, but I did not have difficulty finding mean tweets this week. So that's certainly something to consider. Oh boy. Okay. I guess now's a good time for this week in Jeopardy history. Only going back 1 year for this one. Of course, Von Winchell, his episodes began airing. His Jeopardy was yesterday, in fact. And, of course, he ended up becoming the first 5-time champion since Julia Collins, and that was about 6 to 7 months. Obviously, he lost to Elliot Yates. Currently, we haven't had a 5-time champion since Matt Jackson, and that's been a couple of months. Do we have any theories as to why that is as a group?
We haven't had a 4-time champion either.
Yeah. Well,
We've only had 3-time champions, and what has it been? 8 weeks, 9 weeks?
Mm-hmm.
a lot of randomness, a lot of maybe just a lot of contestants on equal footing with the boards. I did think that when I saw Chandre's game on a couple of days ago, that I thought maybe we were looking at something like another player to watch, and then it didn't happen. So just various reasons. I think I said I think that actually what we might see is kind of a little I don't know if anyone agrees with this, but I feel like in the case of Matt Jackson, I just feel like he was so solid on the buzzer and then got the intimidation going, and it's just like, what? It's just like shooting fish in a barrel, and so I think we might be seeing a lot more, or maybe not a lot more, but I think we will be seeing more often where we have someone go on a long run, but maybe not as many intermediate runs.
What do you think about that, Keith?
Well, we haven't had a lot of particularly dominating performances lately. There's been a lot of low-scoring games and a lot of games where it just came down to Final Jeopardy and who got it right and who got it wrong. And it's hard to mount a really big streak when you're not locking it up half the time at least.
Yeah.
I mean, when Kerry Green won 4 games out of second, and Andrew Herringer, I think, did that as well, that was just remarkable, because you just don't get that lucky if you leave your entire Jeopardy career down to rolling the dice and getting a 1 or a 2.
Yeah.
You can't win that very many times in a row. So I think we haven't had someone who's really dominant come along and just lock up a bunch of games. And I actually told my parents at dinner on Thursday night, I said they had watched Chandri's game the next day, and I said, yeah, I think she could easily rip off 4 or 5 games. She was really impressive, and then Markus had to come along and make me look like a fool in front of them.
So, Markus, how did it feel to you, actually, sitting there in the audience, watching Chandri, have her game on Wednesday, and then be called to play her?
That was frightening, especially because in the period between those 2 games was lunch. So we spent all lunch with Chandra, who is floating in this, tier above us. And she was very calm and very polite and very much just focused and keeping to herself. And the rest of us were sweating. Like, I'm sitting there with Stephen Bird trying half-heartedly to eat a terrible turkey burger. And, how is any of us going to take this woman down? And then when I was actually called, I was just so excited to go on that I didn't really think much about it. I would have been intimidated by any returning champion, never mind a strong one. And in practice, what happened was I think I was pretty strong on the buzzer. She and I were quite evenly matched in getting in on the easy clues. It was very clear that both of us knew a huge proportion of the board. We had similar knowledge bases. We had similar, ability to ring in, which unfortunately left poor Christina a little bit having trouble getting a word in edgewise. But what the game ultimately came down to was she fumbled one or two questions, which gave me the chance to grab daily doubles. And that was the only reason I think I was even competitive with her, was that I capitalized on 3 daily doubles in that game. Otherwise, I don't think I could have kept up. So there was definitely luck, and there was definitely, I think, a little fatigue factor from her for her to start slipping in the same way that I did in the subsequent game.
Now, I should ask you, Liz. How many, after you lost, did you go back to the hotel straight away, or did you watch Wednesday's game as well?
I watched Wednesday's game as well, and I was blown out of the water by Chandri. I mean, she was just so incredible up there, and the whole audience was just like, because she was just so strong on the buzzer. She was so strong with getting everything right. And I thought, okay, she's going to make a run. And then Markus, she made me look stupid too, though. So.
I do feel badly about that. And she,
Damn it, Markus.
And she was like, becoming a hero in the Indian American community, and here I am, this annoying white guy who just came in. Here I am with every privilege in the world walking on the stage. What are you gonna do?
Yeah. So me watching at home, I was thinking, well, for those of you who are game show fans, I'm about to drop an old school reference here, but it kind of felt like, she opens with hot potatoes as opposed to hot cakes, and there were some groans from people watching, and it kind of had the feeling of, I guess Michael Larson hitting a whammy on Press Your Luck before racking up his game, and yeah, so,
So, Andy, are you saying there's a pattern that Jeopardy players can memorize?
I have... Yes, clearly there's a pattern. There's the pattern of the buzzer. That's clearly what's got to be memorized in order to win on Jeopardy.
I'll tell you, one thing I've noticed, and it just might be more anecdotal than actually statistical, but I found a lot of players haven't been hunting for the daily doubles lately. I noticed it, Markus, in your second game, where who was in the middle? One of your opponents got control of the board toward the end, and I kept saying to my parents, "There's a daily double left, right?" But she kept going for the $400 clues, and there was that $2,000 clue at the bottom in Artists, I think, and then it wasn't there. Once you got the board, you went there, didn't find it, and then you found it under the $800 clue. But it was just, I was really confused why you wouldn't go for those daily doubles unless you weren't really thinking of that. And I think a lot of players have been doing that lately too.
Yeah, it struck me as odd in both of those games, and I went in explicitly. I was going to use Ben Ingram's strategy, right, where I have no interest in bouncing around and confusing myself, but I would, start at 1,200 and work your way down. Very simple. I did that consistently when there was a daily double on the board. It worked, but it worked mainly because it felt like in both games, even with Chandra, who was an outrageously skilled player, no one else seemed to be hunting for them.
Mm-hmm.
That actually gives me an idea. I'm going to go back through all the daily doubles and see when they're getting picked up. I did that for the Tournament of Champions and found that, on average, Alex Jacob, in his games, we're finding the third daily double on the 12th clue in Double Jeopardy, whereas for an average game, it's more like the 19th or 20th. So I think that's a good way to measure how effective people are at finding the daily doubles.
I think that's an excellent idea, but obviously Alex was very good at just picking them off. Another person I'd be interested in seeing, Roger Craig, how good Roger Craig would be at that stat. If you're thinking about looking
well,
at
I mean, one thing I know from talking with Roger that he did do some sort of analysis on where the daily doubles are likely to fall.
Leftmost category, 1600.
Yeah. But besides that, he had also told me that there are certain categories that it is more likely to fall in than not. One thing, I mean, yeah, if there was something that I could have had back about my Tournament of Champions, it was that I did try to hunt the daily double. I was a little bit vindicated when I watched a later show and saw that a category very similar to the one that I picked had a daily double in the $1,200 spot. And that's actually immediately where I went. So, so that's that. But yeah, certainly I think there are certain categories and certain dollar values where it is a little bit more likely to be put.
Well, Press Your Luck had 5 different possible combinations, so you can take some solace in that too.
Yeah.
Okay, my next question, you know what? I'm going to go to the hashtag here because I saw just as I was going on, I noticed that there were a couple of things on the hashtag, some comments on last night's live panel. This one from Megan Barnes, the Brandeis hashtag Jeopardy live panel made me wonder where the Kenyon college alumni are on Jeopardy. Surely we have the means, motive, and opportunity. Let's see, what else is there on the hashtag from Jennifer Morrow? I thought the Ben Ingram strategy was eating potato wedges, not hunting for daily doubles. I'm going to get you to talk about how awful the Sony commissary was in a second, Markus, but reminder that you are required to devote a minimum of 2 minutes to Brandeis-related content. So, if you can,
when was this decided?
So I'm going to ask the panel for their favorite thing about Brandeis University.
I'll go because I know Jennifer has been waiting for me to respond on this. The most recent president of Middlebury College just became named the new president of Brandeis, Ron Leibowitz. So he will be an excellent president, Jennifer. I'm looking right at you, yes, peering into your soul. He did good things in Middlebury, and I am sure he will carry that over to his new home.
Now, you went to school in the Boston area. I believe you went to Harvard. Is that correct, Markus?
Yes, I did. That's how I came to be in the United States, actually.
And, so obviously the Widener Library must have been a good thing for you to see.
That was ridiculously unfair. I had to resist the urge to just extravagantly go, who is Harry Elkins Widener? I didn't want to be that guy. But yeah, I mean, not only have I been there 100 times, I worked in the Harvard library system. It couldn't have gotten more tailor-made.
Well, sometimes, you know what? Sometimes tailor-made categories or tailor-made questions even don't quite work out for you, but...
Yep, that's also true.
Do you have, that Canada clue, how do you feel about that now?
I lost so much sleep over that. But, and Keith called it exactly right in his blog post, which is that, so for context for anyone who didn't see it, we were at the very end of this game. I had just squeaked out a lock with what was actually a completely arbitrary daily double wager, and my brain was mush at the time. I had just answered a daily double about large countries in the Southern Hemisphere. And so in my head I was going, is it Brazil, is it India, is it Australia? It has to be something that doesn't touch the equator. It was Australia, which was correct. And I was completely primed to keep thinking about that. So inexplicably the game goes on, even though I'm sure we were overtime at that point. The easy $400 clue comes up, and it's the largest country in the world entirely outside of Asia. I'm completely primed to be thinking about Brazil. I have Brazil on the brain. Brazil, nope. Blew away the game. It turns out it's Canada, where I grew up. I have known since I was 6 years old that Canada is the world's second largest country. Literally, kindergarten teachers tell us that. I have on my iPod a song by the Arrogant Worms an old Canadian comedy group that I urge everyone to look up called Canada's Really Big, which contains the immortal line, "Our mountains are very pointy, our prairies are not," which I think is a good description of the great diversity of Canadian geography. But I was gone by the end of that second game. I didn't know up from down or left from right, and I paid for it, certainly.
And now, obviously, that fateful final Jeopardy in Playwrights. Your thought process on that one? And I think Jason has a couple things to say about it too. So I will. I think it's a good thing to discuss. So you go first, Markus.
Well, the thought process, such as it is, other than can I form a coherent word of any kind at that point? I had just been reading about Long Day's Journey into Night. The clue we're talking about a dysfunctional family, so I sort of followed that thread, and I didn't even have time to think about any good alternatives. It would not have occurred to me to more literally interpret the clue, which was about a playroom, and go, oh, a playroom is a doll's house. I don't think I would have ever gotten there, and I certainly couldn't with the pudding head that I had by then. And it was really impressive to me that D did. I think that was an outstandingly good answer. I know for some people they were like, oh, this was easy. No, that was a hard Final Jeopardy question, and I will brook no dissent on this subject. I don't feel badly at all about getting that wrong. I feel badly about Canada. The Final Jeopardy, D earned it, unquestionably.
Markus, I'll admit that I read A Doll's House again about 3 months ago, and I didn't get it.
That makes me feel good.
I got it, but I have a degree in theater.
Well.
So there you go.
I mean, my reaction was just when I set my eyes on the clue, I'm like, this really sounds like a very Ibsen thing to say, actually. And so that was where I was just like, this sounds so Ibsen. And there sitting on my bookshelf is a copy of A Doll's House. and also I have another set of plays by Ibsen, and I'm like, you know what, this makes total sense. And I just think, I don't know if there was a dispute about the difficulty. I mean, one thing that at least growing up watching the show, my parents would tell me, see, these people read. And so so from that aspect, good on D for getting it correct. And
absolutely.
That's basically, I like it. I mean, with no offense to you, I like it when that sort of thing happens, where someone who, has the knowledge of something, actually gets to have it show through and win the game because of it.
Yeah, it feels meritorious in a case where I feel like a lot of Final Jeopardy questions lately have been weirdly easy or even laughably easy in a few cases. So it was nice to see, even though it hurt me, it was nice to see an actual challenge.
And then, and I was just thinking about various places where, I know that particular quote, I don't know if any quote is particularly, I can't think of, a particularly memorable Ibsen quote, per se, but it just, it sounded, like I said, to me, it sounded like it, and there's been enough that I've seen just in my own encounters that have mentioned A Doll's House. I actually go over... I prep students for the ACT. I go over a reading passage that is all about the plays of Henrik Ibsen.
Wow.
It was definitely not a Pantheon clue.
No.
Hey, that one I could not for the life of me remember.
No, I'm saying that this. No, no. But so
So speaking of Final Jeopardies, I've been doing a lot of cleaning around my parents' house lately. I've just got boxes and boxes of stuff lying around, and I went through a bunch of them and found a bunch of old books and letters and even a check that I hadn't cashed from 13 years ago, which could have used that $100 when I was 17, I think. But I think the best find, I'm going to see if I can flip my camera around, was this.
Oh.
Okay. Oh dear.
I can't remember if I bought that myself or if that was someone's idea of a nice gift after my own Final Jeopardy didn't work out.
You know, it's funny. Pat Kavanaugh. She was one of. She was one of the. She was the third player in the Age of Consent game back in April, along with Tom Imler and Carrie Green. Apparently, her friends have a similar sense of humor. As part of her Christmas gifts, she got the hits of 1965 and a shirt with John Quincy Adams on it. So, yeah. Her friends must have a similar sense of humor. Now,
I don't know if I'd call them friends anymore, Andy.
I will let her know. Okay. So, my question. I think you've been mentioning this a bit on Twitter during our panel, Markus. You obviously had the opportunity to eat at the Sony commissary. So I asked the Ben Ingram question.
Opportunity is a strong word.
What did you have for lunch?
Well, it was my own fault for ordering a turkey burger, which is rarely advisable. I was trying to be healthy, and I was in California. It had avocado crema on it. Come on, but it was awful, and it didn't help that I was so nervous I could barely digest anything to begin with. So the easy answer would be to blame my later instability on a turkey burger and a bowl of salt disguised as French fries, which couldn't help but knock me off my feet by the end of the day. But that may be a little bit too pat of an explanation.
Okay, a couple of things on the hashtag. Let's see here. Apparently, it was just a bad day at the commissary because apparently Jennifer Morrow loved her fries. She even shared them with the other players when she was on.
Was that out of the goodness of her heart, or was she trying to poison them?
Right?
I'll tell you, when I saw Kristen Sawsville a couple weekends ago,
quite lovely.
we were talking about being the alternate in the semifinals of the TOC, and all the different ways we were thinking of trying to, well, not murder our fellow competitors, but, make them incapable of playing for a couple hours.
Yes. Like if one of them woke up in a bathtub covered with ice, you wouldn't be too upset.
No. Or if one of them wanted to try my tuna casserole that I just happened to make in my hotel room somehow.
Yes. That's exactly, that's the classic one. Faith loves tuna casserole recipe. That's exactly where you got to go. And I probably am dating myself within the community for announcing that reference on panel, but
well,
dear.
That's why I mentioned it, Andy. Don't worry, you're not the only one.
So, from Jennifer Morrow, now I'm really glad she didn't eat, or now she's really glad she didn't eat the candy the contestant coordinators dumped on the table regarding poisoning. Apparently, she was also happy that she had she was praying for a Thursday debut just for her free Sony lunch.
Yeah.
To be honest,
for the record, I took the Reese's Peanut Butter Cups home that the producers gave us and gave one to my wife, and she was fine. She didn't get confused about world geography, so.
Well, it's been a while since I featured an actual beer on the show, but if you've been paying close attention to me, you know I've been drinking. That came out wrong. But no, tonight I am drinking a milk stout from Beau's Brewery in Ottawa, the Ottawa suburb of Van Cleek Hill. And they collaborated with noted Ottawa area comedian, I say noted very, that's my choice of words, but noted comedian Tom Green, to collaborate on a milk stout. His caricature of his face is even on the bottle, but of course, as we learned on Friday on Jeopardy, a stout is an ale, as opposed to the Pilsner, which is a lager.
Yep.
But anything you want to say about that, Daily Double, Markus?
I don't think I could have come up with it even if I had been given some time, although someone on the Jeopardy boards put up a very helpful video of a song called Loggers and Ales by none other than Kim Mitchell, who is, of course, the poet laureate of crappy things from Canada. You know, if you ever want to understand what life is like in rural Ontario, just play Kim Mitchell's Patio Lanterns on loop for like 6 hours, and you'll start to get the mood. I was pleased that I even came up with loggers, but just to be able to think about those high-level categories, which I know nothing about, you know, I don't feel badly, and as I said in the game, I redeemed myself with another true daily double thereafter, so it worked out for the best.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, yeah, exactly. So that did work out for you, and because I mean, I was watching it. 'Cause I'd obviously known the outcome before actually watching the main game, because in order to get the recap up for the site, I do get various people from the Central Time Zone to send me various information about the show, so that I can get a recap up. But and thanks to all of you who do that for me. It is very much appreciated. But yeah, so I knew the outcome before actually seeing the game, and that was my first thought. Was, oh no, he's just if he'd only gotten ale, he would have done a little bit better. But
there's plenty of if onlys. I mean, you can have as many, and I'm sure everybody who's ever lost on Jeopardy goes through this. You know, it's a butterfly effect, right? Oh, if I had gotten this clue right, you know, at the very beginning of the game, well, you know, eventually Ashton Kutcher shows up, so you really can't go down that path too far.
You should have really taken the Ben Ingram approach to playing Jeopardy, which is drink 3 or 4 beers the night before.
Yes. I was trying my best to get Stephen Bird, who's going to play on Monday. I was trying to get him tipsy that night because I had nothing to lose anymore. He was very disciplined, and you know he ate healthy food and went upstairs. So I'm looking forward to seeing him play D on Monday. Hopefully, I didn't throw him off too much.
I think a lot of us are actually looking forward to seeing Stephen. He's been on social media a little bit prior to his appearance, which is always nice. Gives us somebody to cheer for going in. So my next question is based on something that one of the contestants this week said on Facebook a little bit. Apparently, Keith, you have a little bit too much time on your hands when it comes to putting your YouTube videos together.
Well, why do you think I'm doing this, Andy? I got nothing better to do right now.
So, I guess from a contestant's perspective, what's it like, seeing Keith analyze your game afterwards on his YouTube channel? What's it like seeing, general internet discussion, either, here on Jeopardy Live panel or, on Twitter or even, heaven forbid, the Jeopardy Facebook page?
Well, I'd say in terms of watching Keith's analysis of wagers, in my case, my final Jeopardy wagers were not super difficult for me to figure out. If they had been very challenging and I botched it, then I would have been like, oh, I know, Keith. But in terms of, I knew what I had to do in the first game in order to, because Shoshana is a good competitor. I knew she was possibly going to wager everything, and so I needed to be able to cover that. I was not as concerned. Jay wouldn't have been able to catch up with me, so I was not even factoring him in. In the second game, I had a little bit of insider information in the sense of Teresa and I talked during rehearsal, and she informed me that her greatest Jeopardy nightmare would be to bomb a question that would be in her wheelhouse, and that she divulged that she has a degree in classics. And so when the ancient world came up, I thought, well, crap, this is like right, in her wheelhouse. So I knew I had to wager everything to even have a chance, or at least I felt I did. As it turns out, I didn't with what she had bet, but at the time I didn't know that, and it's a moot point anyway because I got it wrong. So.
So you're telling me, Teresa, when faced with a final Jeopardy question category in her wheelhouse, chose to bet short.
She did.
Keith, how do you feel about that?
I'm very surprised that that's the case. but I know that that's not the only consideration that people take into account when making wagers. So if she didn't feel comfortable in the category, maybe she thought it was going to be something about Assyria or Sumeria or Mesopotamia or
Right.
what
It
have
could
you.
have easily been that way.
Yeah.
Or you never.
And,
Oh, go ahead.
oh, no, go ahead, Jason. Or
Oh,
maybe she thought that neither of you guys were going to get it, but of
Yeah.
course it's really hard to judge based on a category because it could be something like Elsa or it could be something like the Parthenon. Whereas, I don't have all the baby girls' names memorized, but I know a lot about French landmarks, and I'll let you guess which one I got wrong.
Mm. Yeah. I was just gonna say also. I mean, again, there are considerations, and you never know when it's just going to be that one annoying thing that you have a mental block on. Actually, I was trying to figure since my episodes aired 4 years ago. I think tonight was the episode on which I had a lock-in final and wagered 0 because A, I was feeling really tired. B, the category was presidential inaugurations. And I'm just like, they could throw any little random bit of information about a presidential inauguration in here. And I'm a little addled, so I'm going to wager 0. And if I don't remember, I started with A or B, but 3, I felt like it.
I think that's a lot of what Alex Jacob did, right? He just wagered 0 and just rested for the next game.
Sanity, I'm sure, and having done the same thing, in my situation on Thursday, it was all of the above. In that American Businessmen for me is a disaster of a category. I have a complete inability to differentiate Rockefeller from J.P. Morgan from Carnegie. I always get them mixed up. So I saw that and was like, but beyond that, there would have been no sense in me wagering more than like, I don't know, $1,000 or something because it was such a close shave.
Like how much you obviously don't want to lose the lock.
Yeah, exactly. There was absolutely no sense in endangering anything, and I really wanted to say Merry Christmas to everybody. Like, I had always thought if there was a moonshot chance that I'd be in a position where I could do that on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day, and the fact that the stars aligned such that I could do it, it made the decision very easy for me.
An apology from Liz, by the way. Her phone died, and she was obviously dialing in from her phone, and I don't think she's able to rejoin at this point. I apologize on her behalf, and I want to thank her for coming on. So yeah, let's see. It's too bad because I didn't get a chance to have her read any mean tweets about her. That being said, there weren't. She was probably the hardest to search for. So it seemed like she was received very positively on Twitter. However, for this mean tweet segment, which I'm going to come into, I do have some for you, both Markus and Jason. I went back to your run, and I've got some good ones. But so what I'm going to do, I'm going to put up some.
Wait, Andy, I only get mean Facebook posts?
Nobody says anything bad about you on Twitter.
Well, they're idiots then. They should. They should be like, "Who the hell is this guy?" I will. I want to say something about hearing that. It doesn't bother me at all, just because whenever you put yourself in the public sphere in some way, whether it's being on Jeopardy or writing or even making a comment, there's always going to be someone who doesn't like you or like what you do. If someone has constructive criticism for me, that's great, and I'm more than willing to hear that, and that's helped me improve the final wager over the last 2.5 years. But if someone, thinks that I could be doing something better with my time, that's fine. I'll make that determination. I told Andy when he told me about that, I said, I should do a behind-the-scenes video of me editing all my final wager stuff, because I do all that stuff during the break before Final Jeopardy. So it's not like I'm losing any time there. And then I plug in my camera into my computer, and I watch Wheel of Fortune. It's not that exciting. It's just stuff that's on autopilot at this point anyway. And I've always thought it helps me focus for the rest of the day, because I know at 7 o'clock I'm going to watch Jeopardy, and I know at 7:30 I'm going to be editing this video, and I know at 8 o'clock I'm going to be putting it all up, and then maybe doing some other things, but it kind of pegs the rest of my day, which is nice.
That's fair. For sure. Yeah, I think that it's nice for me to, like, from my own perspective, I know that at 5 o'clock, somebody from either Chicago or Kansas City is going to send me a message with the with how everyone does on Jeopardy, and then I put hit send on the post for the Jeopardy fan, and then I go about the rest of my day. But,
wait, Andy, I thought you got it at 3:30 or 2:30. Did that change?
That actually changed this year. We had the Newfoundland affiliate moved it from 3 o'clock Eastern to 6:30 Eastern, which is a little bit on the frustrating side, but.
Yeah, I've been considering moving to Alabama just so I can watch at 9 o'clock and get it out of the way. 9 a.m.
That would require you moving to Alabama.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
It's interesting because I think that Darren Harris Fane lives in that area of the country where it airs really, really early. So there's a chance I may be harassing him for results at some point, but I wouldn't put them up till later. I wouldn't do that. I would certainly save it. But I mean, in case of maybe historic occurrence, it might give me a chance to put some context together if I knew what happened going in. A couple of things. I'm going to. A question from Carrie Green. So when do we get to talk about Hanyu?
Oh! That should come later, shouldn't it?
That should come later. Oh yeah, that's right. I'm about to do mean tweets. That's right. So what's going to happen? I'm going to screen share a tweet onto the video. So you guys will probably need to click on me. But so here we go. This first one, I believe, is for Jason. I don't know how well you can read that, but
yeah, I see that. So glad Jason Keller finally lost Jeopardy. That dude was so awkward. Okay.
That one is from @Chad Hoy. I wonder if he's
Oh,
still,
yes. Okay. So
this next one is I'm going to go. There we go for Markus.
I hate Markus on Jeopardy. He is ruining Christmas Eve. Oh. Sorry, Rebecca.
And our next one, with your name misspelled even. I actually did the search with the C and the K.
It was amazing to me how the derp correlated with the inability to spell my name. It was like almost I was impressed with. Hi, Markus on Jeopardy. Did you just discover all the muscles in your face and are learning to use them? Because that's what it looks like. Okay, side note on this. I don't know about anybody else. I find it incredibly hard to stare at a camera and keep my face still. Like, how does anyone do that? I couldn't help but go like move my eyebrows around. Like, maybe it's a nervous tick.
I was very animated during my games. And you know what? I mean, because I was just like, I really don't care what anyone else is saying. Like, I'm just doing what I do up here, and that's what it's about. I could really care less what people say.
Yeah, and I like that you brought that same enthusiasm to karaoke too.
Okay. We have one more mean tweet, actually, so I will get right to this. This one is for Jason, from when you were in the TOC, from David S. Bradford.
I thought we had seen the last of Jason Keller and his disturbing clicking bobblehead. Disappointing, Jeopardy. Well, David S. Bradford, I've seen this tweet, and I will be sending you a Jason Keller bobblehead in the future.
Uh-oh. Watch out, David. So, some things on the hashtag from Claudia. If Brandeis and Kenyon are going to have their own panels, can all the alumni of Rando State Unis combine to form one? From Jennifer Morrow, memorable Ibsen quote, "You should never wear your best trousers when you go out to fight for freedom and truth." From Carrie Green, good thing Kristen Sauceville was so hungover on day 2. That's right. She went to who did she run into again? So who's the star? Who's the guy from Blackish?
It was Anthony Anderson.
Yes, yeah. Anthony Anderson from Blackish, who invited who they ran into at the studio, and then got invited VIP seats.
At what? A club?
So
one of the show he was taping something, some sort of celebrity something.
Oh, so it was a taping of another show.
Yeah.
So where did the alcohol come into play?
Well, the VIP seats, I presume they came with an open bar.
Oh, okay. I was kind of imagining them in a studio.
Yeah. It was. I think it was Celebrity Lip Sync Battles.
Oh, yeah. So you kind of have to be drunk for that, huh?
Let's see. Okay.
I do have one other find that was noteworthy. I was at 18 at the time of the taping of my TOC, so I was not going out to any bars before day 2. But after day 2, we all went to Trader Vic's, which RIP no longer exists, and I got in no problem. I guess I just looked really old, especially compared with Russ Schumacher, because he still looks younger than I am. He's got several years on me. That kid, when he's 60, he's gonna look like he's 30. I swear. But no, I didn't get carded. Had a few Mai Tais, and still have the little tiki guys, the tiki stirrers that came with them.
Maybe that's why it's R.I.P. Trader Vic's, all the underage drinking.
Now you're making me feel guilty, Andy. I was having a good day too.
Sorry, Keith.
First bad Facebook.
From Claudia. Here, this may cheer you up. She's glad that Keith has found a more productive outlet for his obviously cold and calculating nature.
What is that?
I don't know.
Drinking nostalgia?
That came in for a few minutes. That came in about 15 minutes ago.
Right.
And from Jennifer Morrow, some shade your way, Jason. My mom reads my Twitter. Her recent Jeopardy question: who is the orange one? Why is he orange?
Do we want to get into this?
Yes, we do.
I mean, no. It just started. It started in high school. Just as well, two things. One, my friends actually joked that when I wore orange, I lit up the room. But also, it so happened that we competed in this academic competition every year, and apparently the only year that I went, and I was wearing the orange shirt, we won. And that had never happened in my school's history before. So it kind of became a good luck charm, and a little bit of my personality.
Sounds good to me. Now, I have one. I guess my next question. Does anyone on the panel have any questions for anyone else on the panel at this point? Oh yes, Markus. I don't think we talked about this on air, so I'm going to ask: do you have any? Being an expat Canadian who loves butter tarts, do you have any good butter tart recipes?
Honestly, and it's shameful to admit it, my butter tart recipe is the first one that comes up when you Google butter tart recipe. It works well for me, but the interesting thing is that there's great division on what you use as your sweet thickener in the butter tart filling. A true traditionalist will use maple syrup. The ones I grew up with use maple syrup a lot of the time. I don't like it. Maple syrup in a butter tart, it's not quite rich enough and sweet enough. It's too runny. I cheat and I use golden syrup, which is basically simple sugar. It's a golden cane syrup from England, and it works beautifully. But there are partisans for corn syrup. There are partisans for pure just butter, which I don't understand how that works. That sounds horrifying. But you can really go into the weeds with this stuff if you want. Luckily, I know we're among a group of dilettantes here who don't like to learn about the details of subjects, so I won't talk at length about corn syrup.
Wait, you can put weed in them too? Is that what you're saying?
Hypothetically, I mean it's Canada. I'm sure someone has done it.
My guess, and this is speaking completely hypothetically, I guess you would somehow use, infused oil, but
Yeah.
I was going to ask if you have your own recipe for homemade ketchup flavored potato chips.
That recipe is called Drive to Niagara Falls.
Actually, I joke about that. I do actually have a local pharmacy that actually gets some ketchup-flavored potato chips every now and then. And a friend of mine from Winnipeg just had recently posted a picture of pop chips, and it got me thinking, well, do they make pop chips in ketchup flavor? To which she responded, yes, would you like me to send you some?
Yes, I was about to say, yes, they do make pop chips and ketchup. They are very good.
Mm-hmm. Well, I had salted pepper pop chips, and they had way too much pepper. Yeah, didn't work. But yeah, let's see. So yeah.
Any other questions?
Well, one thing just to get it in there for Carrie, a little bit of hesitation on Hanyu right now because it seems that he's kind of, not hit that sublime NHK level. There could be an opening for, say, someone like a Dennis Ten who tends to rise to the occasion. So it should be very interesting in Boston. I will be keeping some tabs on it, and probably from Stamford, Connecticut. Apparently there are a lot of things in the world of sport and crosswords and Scrabble going on that weekend. So I wish I could clone myself and be in a bunch of different places at once.
Wait, are you speaking in code or are you answering a question? I wasn't following at all.
He dropped a whole bunch of figure skating references.
Okay.
I dropped a whole bunch of figure skating references, and then I talked about how the weekend of the first weekend in April happens to be the World Figure Skating Championships are on in Boston. It's the American Crossword Puzzle Tournament. It's apparently also the Tennis Masters in Miami is that weekend. There are a couple of other sporting events per one of my friends who does some sports reporting, and also there are a couple of Scrabble tournaments that weekend as well. So there are a lot of things going on. I'm opting for crosswords.
So you're just having trouble deciding which one to compete in?
Actually, you would not.
I didn't know you were that good at figure skating, Jason.
Yeah, I know. I've been working on my quad. I'm actually trying a quad flip out of 3 turns. It's not quite there yet. Yes, and yeah, that's really happening.
There's a reason why we call him the Dick Button of the panel.
So I'm curious what everyone else thought about. It's funny because we said Pantheon and Liz was kind of like, and that was Parthenon. But it kind of goes to my sort of thought again, kind of same theme where it's like, the Parthenon is reasonable, except it's not a wonder of the world.
Yeah.
So the thing is, if you know what the wonders of the ancient world are, it's very clearly the Temple of Artemis. If you don't, then I could see you falling for that very easily. But then
I fell for Parthenon. Now in the audience, Markus, how did it play?
We were all a little bit caught off guard. I think I couldn't think through the 7 wonders at the time, and I realized afterwards there's an entire passage in Bob Harris's book, Lost in Trebekistan, where he goes to the Temple of Artemis, or what the little stub that remains of it, and walks around. And I had just read it like a few weeks earlier in preparing, but it didn't come to me, and I don't think it came to any of us that were sitting there. So it seemed like a very, very impressive catch at the time.
Yeah. $1,000. I've mentioned this before, but $1,000 of my winnings are directly attributable to me watching clips of the Jeopardy montage from White Men Can't Jump. There was a Pope category, there was a Poe category in one of my games, and I got the first 4 clues, and it was unfortunate. If I had gotten the 5th, it was at the end of the round. I think I would have burst out laughing during the cut. I think I was going to very loudly yell that the Jew ran the Pope category, and just I would have lost it at that point. I think people would have been like, "What is going on?" Even more so than awkward Jason.
So I guess any further questions?
All right, Jason, let me have it about the beard.
What do you mean let you have it about the beard? Maybe that should have been your mean tweet.
Maybe it should have been. You could have connected 2 of us, Andy.
I know. But no, you know what? Actually, it was funny that you said that Russ looks kind of young, because when you were not wearing the glasses on the final wager, I was like, you look really young. You look a little, yeah. I don't know, maybe it was the way that the camera was. I was like, you look really young.
Yeah,
and
when I was...
a couple of the transitions, but it wasn't like let you have it. I just think you look older and better with the beard. That's all.
Well, thank you. I know you're not the only one who thinks that, and I'm the only one here without a beard now that Liz is gone. So.
Yeah, because you decided you were going to shave it off.
Well, I had a lot of time on my hands. I decided to make a long video where I could cut different facial hair configurations in. Actually, it was a lot of fun.
Well,
but no, the whole reason I shaved it is because I was going home and I didn't want to deal with trimming it while I'm here. So that's basically it. Pure laziness.
But there's a simpler solution, and I say this from experience. If your motivation for beardsmanship is laziness, you don't trim it.
Yeah.
And the problem is solved. I'm afraid this line of reasoning doesn't hold up.
Markus, some of us are single.
Fair.
Well, my next thing, it looks like we have a final in the Jeopardy Fantasy Football League. Final matchup. There were 12 of us who took part in a fantasy football league earlier this season. Including, Kristen Sauceville, Ben Ingram, Alex Jacob was in the league. Mike Duval was, follow Mike Duval fame, was commissioner. And there were 2 of us, 10 contestants, myself and Sophia Zinger, I believe. One of your friends, Keith. The 12 of us were in the league. Of course, the final was between the 2 of us who have never been on Jeopardy, myself and Sophia. And the results, assuming there are no changes to be made to the scoring, which could happen, but all the games are final, and I currently hold a 6/10 of a point lead. Assuming that holds up on the recount, that was a very close matchup. I think we both have regrets on who we started this week, as we both have about an average of 15 points a player on our bench. But
I was going to say, neither of you has a Bronco or a Bengal on your team.
Seriously, neither one of us has a Bronco nor a Bengal. Her quarterback was Aaron Rodgers, and I had Drew Brees for most of the season. I switched him out for Kirk Cousins, which appears to have been the winning margin.
That was a good call.
But that was the only correct decision I made all weekend.
Wow.
So,
So inviting me to this live panel, that wasn't one of them? Come on, Andy.
Oh, God. So, in terms of other housekeeping, I actually have some of our upcoming episodes. We actually have, this is going to be the first time I've mentioned Sports Jeopardy in a while, but we have a 9-time champion right now going through on Sports Jeopardy. In case you've missed that, his name is Vinny. He's at Exit130 on Twitter. and he's won 9. And for those of you who have been in the Jeopardy fan community, you'll know Jordan Honan at Heels Rule 1988 is going to be one of the challengers on Wednesday this coming week. So in honor of that, we're doing a Sports Jeopardy special on January 2nd at 9 p.m. Jordan will be on. A couple of other Sports Jeopardy alumni. A couple of other Sports Jeopardy alumni will be on that. And then, of course, episode 17 will be next Sunday evening. So that's something to keep in mind if you're a fan of Jeopardy Live Panel and want to know what we are doing in the near future. So there we go. Good luck. Good best of retroactive luck to Jordan on Wednesday. Keith, you should do a final wager special on Sports Jeopardy.
Oh, don't worry, I got that.
You got that? Okay.
Wait, so I have not followed Sports Jeopardy at all, but so this at exit 130, is that 130 Garden State Parkway, like 15 minutes from where I live, practically?
Yes, he's from New Jersey, yes.
Okay.
So I'm not from the area, so what's exit 130 and what's the significance of exit 130?
130 Garden State Parkway. Well, it's just, that New Jerseyans, there's a kind of a joke that outsiders, will ask when people hear that you're from New Jersey. The joke is that there are so many highways in New Jersey that people will ask you, well, what exit? And of course, when I was younger, I talk about being awkward now. When I was younger and really didn't have any idea of social things, it was funny because I got asked that once. That there was a kids concert and the host let all the kids come up and sing something, and so it was funny because living where I live, where there are a couple of different highways that kind of meet. I'm like, well, it depends on which. It depends on which highway you're talking about. But so exit 130, that's the Garden State Parkway. It really is. It's Edison Woodbridge. I grew up in Edison, but I grew up at 131, which is now 132. Because they renumbered it because it is actually right on the 132-mile mark.
Man, that's like when they changed the Zodiac.
Yeah, except yeah, but so that's just it was funny. If I had won another game in my regular season at that time, they were doing teasers and saying like, hi. Hi, I'm so and so. I'm a however many time champion. I think my teaser, had I won my 10th game, would have been my number of wins equals my exit on the turnpike. See how far I can go. Can I hit the George Washington Bridge, which is 18 on Jeopardy?
Oh God. I'm surprised David Madden didn't try that, to be honest with you, but.
He's not. He doesn't strike me as that kind of guy.
Okay. So, do we have any other questions for anyone else on the panel now that we've had a great discussion on New Jersey highways?
Turnpike and Garden State Parkway exit.
I can talk about corn syrup some more if you want.
And
Keith,
I only got a couple of minutes left on my battery, Andy. So.
Okay.
I might drop for no reason, but.
Well, I see nothing else on the hashtag. So honestly, I think it's probably a good time to say goodbye until our Sports Jeopardy special next Saturday. So for all of us here at Jeopardy Live Panel and the JeopardyFan.com, thank you guys all for tuning in and for taking part this evening. Let me just get the credits up because. There we go. Here we go. Thank you very much for tuning in. Thank you very much for taking part. And hopefully I'll see everyone again very soon. See you at least here on the panel. I will see you next Saturday. Have a great
New Year.
Have a happy
Day.
New Year. Perfect. Day, evening, New Year.
Week.
Perfect. There we go.
Happy things.
Goodbye.
Mm-hmm.